So it seems like Nvidia has plans to release a new entry-level graphics card, a market which I've been saying has been neglected for a very long time. However, if you were hoping that this new GPU would be a game changer, then unfortunately I've got some bad news for you. Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on guys? Danny here, welcome back to the channel and I hope you've all been doing well. Recently on the channel we've talked about Nvidia planning on releasing new RTX 40 Super Series graphics cards as a sort of a refresh for its existing lineup. These cards target the mid-range to high-end segments, so that's still a decent chunk of the market, but I also know that a huge portion of the PC gaming user base resides in that $200-ish segment. The user who is looking for that GPU that gives them that excellent bang for the buck. And unfortunately these past few years have been very grim for the segment, and it wouldn't be far-fetched to say that it's basically dead, and unless you're willing to extend your budget about another $100 to $200, you're not going to find a decent option in the new market, that is. Now, when I recently heard that Nvidia plans to bring a new entry-level card, one that would possibly have an MSRP below $200, I was a bit intrigued but not overly excited considering how much of a disappointment the 4060 series was. But I thought, hey, if they were to release an RTX 4050, this would be it, and maybe it might be something better than what we got with the 30 series. Until I had seen the leak for myself, which was an RTX 3050, and I just sat there thinking, why? Why bother with an abysmal card like this? Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, RTX 3050, that's old news, I can go buy this card right now, and that's true. In fact, I actually reviewed the RTX 3050 last year a few months after it was released. However, this is a revision which translates to the typical Nvidia BS they've pulled in the past. So this first article from VideoCardz' website was posted earlier this month, and they're sourcing board channels here who are a fairly popular tech forum in China. Basically what it says here is that Nvidia will be discontinuing the 8GB model of the RTX 3050, and for its replacement we'll be getting not an RTX 4050 but an RTX 3050, except this one will have 6GB of VRAM. Information provided by AIBs mentions that stock for the 8GB model should basically be depleted by now, or rather what you're seeing on retail shelves was the last wave, and then this 6GB RTX 3050 should be on the market later in January, which it seems like there will be a number of new GPUs hitting the market at the beginning of next year. The 4080 Super, 4070 Ti Super, and 4070 Super, along with this revised 3050 6GB. Some of you may not actually remember, but this isn't the first time we're hearing of this quote-unquote RTX 3050 6GB. I'd actually covered a rumor earlier this year in March from Megasize GPU on Twitter, who's another person that is part of this leaker group, and they talked about the 4050 with 6GB of VRAM and a 96-bit bus. Turns out it was just Nvidia tiptoeing on whether they would go with an Ada chip or bring back Ampere. As a follow-up to this article we got earlier this month, VideoCardz posted another article, this time sourcing BenchLife, who are essentially reiterating the same thing, that we'll get this RTX 3050 6GB sometime in January, but they also mentioned the price, which is going to be around $179 or $189. I know at first this may not seem like a lot. Some of you might say that, hey, that's a price point that I can easily digest, but let me explain to you why this RTX 3050 6GB at $180 is absolutely terrible, and why it really shouldn't be more than $100 tops. First of all, I'm wondering how many of you guys actually caught this, but the 6GB RTX 3050 isn't just a 3050 with less VRAM, but it also has less shaders, a slimmer memory bus, and a lower TDP. You're basically going to be getting a GPU that will be performing around 20 to 25% slower on average, and that right there is just absolutely abysmal. It shouldn't even be called an RTX 3050 at this point. Nvidia should be calling it an RTX 3030 or something along the lines of that. You see, when I had reviewed the RTX 3050, I said that it offered decent 1080p 60fps performance, granted you're not maxing everything out and you're using sensible settings. But at that time, it was retailing for around $340 US, which was just way too expensive, and I said the max that you should pay for performance like this at that time was $200. Now, given that we're at the end of 2023, this level of performance shouldn't be more than $150, especially because you can find GPUs like the RX 6600 for around $200, sometimes lower when it's on sale, or an ARC A750, both cards which are much faster than the RTX 3050. And if you have a decent used market in your region and are comfortable buying secondhand, then you have even better options. I've seen eBay listings for RTX 2080s going for around $250, and that would be a much better option. It's still a very capable GPU. So when you take into account your other options that are available on the market, then this RTX 3050 6GB just makes absolutely no sense to buy at $180. A card like this, I really wouldn't pay more than $100 for, and I wouldn't even consider a GPU with a 96-bit bus to be a gaming card in the first place, unless you're playing really old titles, something from like the early 2010s. When companies release stuff like this, the only thing that comes to mind is that they're trying to fulfill some sort of contractual obligation with a foundry to keep producing chips. What I can also see happening is this card becoming a go-to for a lot of system integrators and OEMs to use for low-level or very budget entry-level options. If you were someone who was in the entry-level segment and were hoping that there would finally be a decent option, doesn't look like that's going to be happening, unfortunately, and I personally think that this segment is just dead when it comes to new releases, unless you're okay with trash like this. You're better off just waiting for last-gen stuff to drop in price or value on clearance deals, or you're gonna have to be looking at some options on the used market. The entry level has been dead for quite a while now, ever since the RTX 20 series and the AMD RX 5700 series. When we had cards like the RX 480 and GTX 1060, those days are long past us now. If you've been paying any attention to the market, even now these manufacturers are trying to kill off the mainstream, or one could argue they've basically risen the floor up because the ceiling is so high. If next gen you have a flagship that will have an MSRP of $2,000, and then you have a high-end X70 Ti model starting from $1,000, then entry-level cards will be starting at like $500. This could very well become a reality at some point. I'm actually surprised that Nvidia had stooped to such a lower level to begin with. I was thinking that they would have repurposed the RTX 4050 laptop chips at the very least. By doing so, they could have peddled their usual marketing gimmicks with DLSS 3 and FrameGen, because then the RTX 4050 would have been getting well over 100 FPS, even though you'd be gaming at like 540p upscaled, but at least there was something they could have done there, if you know what I mean. It would have been the same sort of scenario as it was with the 4060. Not dramatically faster than the 3060, but with FrameGen, oh yeah, it's like 2x faster. With the 3050, there's really nothing they can do, and it's probably going to be more of a quiet launch, if anything. One where you'll just see the cards show up at retailers. They probably won't even be getting sampled out or anything. It just doesn't make any sense. So I just wanted to put this video out there to let you guys know that if you are in the market for an entry-level card, absolutely do not wait or buy this card. It's a waste of resources, and you do have better options that are readily available. Alrighty guys, so that's going to do it for this one. We'll touch base in the next video. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.